Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Morning Coffee with Mike. Hope you had a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Today, we're talking about sacrifice. What does sacrifice mean? How does it mean? How does it relate to trading? And it's often something that, particularly in this space, nobody's really willing to do. I wasn't willing to do any kind of sacrifice. Well, when I first learned about trading, or I was willing to sacrifice very little. Sacrifice is an important thing. Most people want the easy way when it comes to trading. Most people hear things like you hear things people are peddling things like trade like a pro fast, right? Let me know if you've ever heard that term, trade like a pro fast. Type into the chat. Let me know if you're watching this later on. Let me know in the comments somewhere. Why does trading have to be fast? Why does it have to be easy? Most things in life have value because for the very simple reason that it's not easy. It doesn't happen quickly. In trading, there's no real way to avoid sacrifice. There's because if we're looking to if we're not willing to sacrifice in the short term, and that this is true for pretty much anything in life. If we're not willing to make sacrifices in the short term, then we'll be paying for things in the long term. Here's a few examples. Number one, if we're not willing to commit to a trading methodology, a trading system, if we're not willing to put in the time, effort, energy into learning, then we're sacrificing our future results. How are we going to get the results that we want if we're not willing to make the sacrifices to learn and study and develop the trading skills that we need now? If we're going to cut corners, how are we going to get the results that we want? If we're going to shrug off things out like journaling, things like learning how to do risk management, planning trades, if we're going to sacrifice those kinds of things and I'll do it later, I'll do it tomorrow. Let me go find out what Mike is trading today, or let me go find out what some other influencer is talking about. And we just go and follow somebody else's trades. We're sacrificing the skills that we could have had sooner. And every time that we put it off, there's a famous saying that I believe Warren Buffett had said that the best time to plant a tree is today. The second best time, or the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is right now. So if we're following that philosophy, every day that we put off working on ourselves, every day that we put off developing the skills needed for trading, then that's another day in the future that we're not going to have our results. We would have had our results a lot quicker if we had made the sacrifices now to do it. So everything is like in life is going to be hard, whether it's trading, whether it's health, right? Well, we could decide that, you know what, I think I'll have that extra piece of cake. I think that I'll skip the gym, like all these kinds of things. And trust me, I was never this guy. I should say I wasn't always this guy that was the disciplined one, going to the gym no matter what, going to the gym whether I'm feeling, whether I feel like it, whether I don't feel like it, doing my trading journals, whether I feel like it, whether I don't feel like it, planning my day, being organized. I was not that person. So the part of the reason why I share that part with you is to give you hope that if you're not feeling like that person yet, you definitely can, because over the years I've transformed into that person, but it's something else that doesn't happen quickly. It doesn't happen overnight. Well, we need to start. We need to continuously put in effort, and also over time, you'll understand this when you start to do it. Give yourself a little bit of grace when we slip up, because, well, we will slip up, but the idea then is to get back on the horse. And we also want to build our environment. And this is why I'm so big on environment. We want to build our environment to support us so that way we have other people around us that are also getting after that, and that it's motivating. It gives us additional perspectives that we might not have had otherwise. And if we're if we're working and we see other people that are getting after it and we feel like slacking off, we will push ourselves harder because of the people around us. Sacrifice, ultra important. If we don't sacrifice today, we'll be sacrificing down the road. Life gets harder the less we sacrifice upfront. It's better to make little sacrifices day by day, trying to get 1% better than to make much bigger sacrifice later on where years go by and we are sitting there telling ourselves, well, shit, I wish I would have done all that work back then because right now I'm suffering. Happy Monday, everybody. Great talk for the Monday, right? Very uplifting. But hey, this is the kind of stuff that we all need to hear sometimes. I'll tell you a little bit about what I ended up sacrificing about my personal journey too, because for those of you that aren't aware, it took me a solid 10 years before I even turned the corner in my trading. I go into the story in my book. You guys probably all know about the book by now, but the Trading Mind Wheel, it's available now on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble. And by the way, the audiobook just came out too. So if you're interested in audiobooks, go grab the audiobook version of it. Some of the sacrifices that I made early on when I finally started to turn the corner. I was big into fantasy sports. I was big into fantasy baseball. I was big into fantasy football. And funny enough, those skills actually helped me in my trading, like learning how to I took my statistical analysis and started to apply that to my early parts of trading. So I sacrificed that. I sacrificed binge watching Netflix. I used to come home, watch hours and hours of Netflix until I fell asleep pretty much every night, even more so on the weekends. And then on the weekends to like go out with friends, party, those kinds of things. When I finally started to get serious about trading, and this is going back to 2010, 2011. So we're talking about 12, 13 years. When I finally started to do that, I would study and research. I would study and research during downtime at work, during my lunch hour, on my commute. I would study and research at night, on weekends. I would go to conferences, I would go to seminars, learn from people. I would start to build that environment. And it wasn't overnight, but within a year, my trading had already started to turn the corner and I was starting to get success and I was starting to become profitable. So, it, in hindsight, a year doesn't seem like that much at all, right? Like, oh, a year goes by like this. In the moment when we're sitting there and like, you know what? I don't feel like studying today. Let me go watch the show. Let me go out with the friends. Let me go have an extra drink. It's real easy to fall into those kinds of habits. So that's part of the reason why, too, building our environment and trying to get other people around us. Even if we could just add one person that's getting after it, can make a huge difference. So sacrifice. Sacrifice is important, and whether we are consciously aware of it or not, we are always sacrificing. Either we are uh, sacrificing some of the things like for me, the fantasy football, the fantasy baseball, sacrificing the binge watching Netflix, sacrificing those things to focus on trading, or we're sacrificing our future results for whatever it is that we happen to feel like doing right now. Thoughts, comments, questions, type them into the chat. Just gonna scroll through over here. I see a bunch of people watching over on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook too. You guys type into the chat. Welcome, welcome. Very uplifting conversation here for a Monday, but very important one. Very important one. Thank you guys. Love you too. Do I trade Forex? No, I do not trade Forex. I attempted to trade Forex years ago. Years ago. And then actually just before COVID happened, so yeah, to go back to 2019, I I've been friends with some forex traders for a while. You may have heard them, Akil Stokes and Jason Greystone. I went through their program. Their program is fantastic, by the way. If you're interested in forex and you want to learn about forex, those guys are definitely worth checking out. Tier1trading.com, and give Akil Stokes and Jason Greystone a follow. Their program is fantastic, and what I noticed after going through their program, so much of what I already know about trading from trading stocks is directly applicable to trading forex. Not everything translates, but a lot of it translates. Close to 90% translates. All that said, if you're looking to trade forex, Keel Stokes, Jason Greystone, and also Austin Silver. Austin Silver is fantastic. He also spoke at the Trading Mind Wheel virtual conference. Check him out. Somebody raising their hand, they have a question. Yeah, if you have questions, just type them into the chat. I'm going to scroll through as many of them as I can right now. In fact, I'm scrolling back to the top of Instagram and going to go back down chronologically. Let's see here. Yeah, the thing with Instagram, every time somebody comes in, you see them. So it's hard to find some of the comments here, some of the questions. How many indicators required to confirm the trade to enter? That's going to be different depending on your system. And you everybody that's trading, like if you're going to be a discretionary trader, meaning that you're going to take a look at the market and see how you're going to operate, you want to be operating with some kind of an edge, some kind of a system, something that's going to guide you to make your decisions. The indicators will be baked into your system, and it's not where you need to go buy some kind of a black box or something like that. There's plenty of systems out there that are already developed, and you could begin to learn. The system that I learned that stuck, I've learned many different systems over the years, but the one that stuck was William O'Neill's Can Slim. Studied that, it made sense, and so I learned the types of things that he looked for in a stock. I learned the types of indicators that he used, the types of indicators that he didn't use, the ones that he thought were crap, and I stuck to those. Then I started to learn other things that jived with O'Neill and his teaching, and different time frames that I could use, different things that worked with it. And that's where you start to add some things on. You don't need to go crazy with indicators. The primary indicators that I use moving averages, I use a relative strength line, I use price and volume. If you want to think of those as indicators, I do. I use stochastics. I use an anchored VWAP, and occasionally I'll use Fibonacci, and that's about it. Nothing too crazy. The important thing with any indicator that you're going to use is that you use it consistently, meaning that you don't use it on one trade and then use something different on a different trade. You want to use the same indicators consistently with the same settings consistently, because that's what's going to help you understand the indicator and how your trades respond around certain things. And that's where you'll start to develop your gut feel, because you'll see things repeat over and over again. You'll start to get a feeling when you see something, and that'll be your experience talking to you. If you're brand new, that gut feel might just be indigestion. Don't trust your gut feel if you're new, But as you become more experienced, once you have a few years under your belt, gut feel becomes more and more important. Question from Deepak. How can we deal with our ego? Great question, fairly common question. Here we go. Dealing with ego. Lots of ways to deal with ego. Today, the way that I'll suggest dealing with ego first is become aware of ego. How do you become aware of your ego? A few different ways that you could become aware of your ego. One way that's fantastic is meditation. If you've never meditated before, I not only do I recommend it, but I'll give you a great tool that can help you. The one that I prefer is called Headspace. Headspace is an app. They give you guided meditations. They have all different levels that you could start from. I started with that at level 0, and it was life changing. Life changing. So give it a shot. They'll walk you through. It starts with some simple breathing exercises if you're totally brand new, like I was when I started. Some simple breathing exercises just for a minute or two, and then you gradually go deeper into meditating for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20. And what happens during the meditation is that you start to become aware of your thinking, you become aware of your thoughts, and you start to see thoughts not as something that you own, right? Like that's the ego, like, oh, I thought of this, but you start to observe thoughts like they're their own thing. And when you create that little bit of space between you being the observer of thought and the thought itself, that's where you can really start to see like, oh, like these are just things out there. I don't have to believe this thought just because it popped into my head. Meditation is fantastic. Try out Headspace if you haven't tried out Headspace yet. Obviously, we could go a lot deeper into ego. I do talk about it in my book. Go grab the book if you haven't grabbed the book already. Tradingmindwheel.com. Audiobook is now available too. Get that on Amazon. Let's see what other questions you have. Thank you for sharing. My pleasure. All right. There's no other questions for the day, then we'll wrap things up here in a moment. But just want to say too that I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you coming here and all of your great questions each week, each day. We do the show Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We put it on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and of course, Instagram. We also record these shows and we put them on Spotify for anybody that wants to watch them later on. Tomorrow, tomorrow's topic, I actually planned out the topics for this week here. So we've got commitment coming up, we've got sticking with systems and processes. I'm planning to do a MarketSmith tutorial. A lot of people ask me about the different tools that I use. One of the tools that I use for my own screening is a tool called MarketSmith. I think that it's fantastic. I've used it for years, and I'll do a brief tutorial that's coming up later this week. And something else that I wanted to talk to you guys about and share with you is something called sector leaders. Sector leaders. A lot of people will think of that as just the market itself, but we can develop our own sector leaders and it can become a fantastic tool. So we'll be talking about that later on this week too. It's like there's one more question that snuck in. A question from Deepak here. Before taking a trade, sometime I feel fear. How to take the action? All right, that's another fantastic question, Deepak. So I think back to my own journey and my own trading. And I used to be very fearful before pulling the trigger on a trade too. The thing that stopped the fear, that made the fear just go away, is as I became more experienced, as I became more skilled at trading, and not only where it's becoming more skilled, but it's knowing the data behind my trading system. So trading is such where we put on trades and it's a game of probabilities. We don't know what's going to happen with any one trade that we put on. We just know that we're playing a game of probabilities. And if we continue to play this game of probabilities, that we come out a winner at the end of it after we've traded many, many times. So 100 times, 200 times more than that. If we understand and if we have a deep understanding of our system and the statistics of our system, then that's something that gives a whole lot of confidence because we've studied and we know that if we execute in such and such way that over the long term we're going to come out a winner. So that means that this one trade that we're putting on right now doesn't really matter. It's just one trade in the sequence of 100 trades. So the more that you understand your data, the more that you understand your system, the more that fear starts to go away. Now, how do you get that experience? How do you get over that? Because, well, I'm thinking back to when I was starting out. It's just like, well, I'm new, right? Like I've got the fear now. How do I get to that point where the fear isn't there and I do understand all my stats? That's a great step. And it's one of the things that I also, again, talk about in the book. That's why I wrote this. So that way you guys have a blueprint that are just starting out that can help you with all these different kinds of fears. And one of the things is about testing. So few people test. So few people do factor modeling, back testing, and forward testing. I didn't do those things for a very long time myself. And one of the reasons why was because I didn't know how. I thought that you needed some kind of fancy software. I thought that you needed to learn about coding, that you needed to learn some advanced formulas in Excel, all these things that I would tell myself that would prevent me from doing the work. When I finally learned about testing, that was something that really accelerated my learning curve very fast. And the reason why testing is so important is because you have a system, you have these ideas. Part of the reason why we're afraid is because we have our money and we're putting it into a trade and we're not sure if this thing is going to work or not. Being fearful in that scenario makes sense. It's logical. We're rational human beings. We don't know if this thing is going to work, and meanwhile, we're going to risk our money. If we do the testing, then that allows us to look back several hundred, several thousand trades, see how our systems would have worked. And we could do manual tests too to see how it would work if we were trading this thing back then. That's how you gain the experience very quickly. That's how you start to see how a system or a rule would have worked back then. So, my advice to you would be to go and test your system, test your rules, test what it is that you're trying to do, and then you'll gain a lot of confidence and that fear will start to go away. And if you need tips and further detail on how to test, go grab a copy of The Trading Mind Wheel. All right, that's it for today. It was great chatting with you guys. I'll see you back here again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care. Much love. Peace out, everybody.